Calling meeting to order the Townsend Energy Committee, June 25th, 2025, 7 p.m., 7:08. 7:08, we'll start. We have Michael Brown in attendance, and we have Michelle attending virtually, and Ron Montgomery here also. We have previous minutes I published, and you did receive those to get a chance to check it out?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, one very minor, I didn't bring it.
Well, if you have it, yeah, I'll get you a copy, yeah.
It was just like one letter. So, in this. Oh, it changed. I think the version I saw, it said MB.
It did.
Yeah.
That wasn't it that I did at some point. I had an initial wrong. I'm going to move that we accept the minutes of the previous meeting, June 4th, 2025, the meeting we conducted at 4 p.m. that day. Do you have a second?
Yes, I second that.
All those in favor to approve those minutes? Michael?
Yes.
Arnold? Yes. Okay, previous meeting, something told me that I should have voted. It didn't make sense to me to be voting when there's a volunteer, what are you gonna nominate or vote? Anyway, I think we're supposed to vote, so, I'm gonna make a motion that we receive the reappointment, volunteer or nominate or whatever the terminology is supposed to be for this, Kathy Thompson for another term. You second?
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Yes. The only thing is, do we know like what terms these are?
No, we're going to figure that out. And I'll take the longer
probably one that's.
I'll give her the shorter one and I'll take the longer one.
Right. There's probably different lengths.
She didn't want, she was really reluctant anyway, so you give her the shorter term.
Yeah.
And I move to accept the reappointment, volunteer nomination, whatever we need to do for Ron Montgomery. Would you second that motion?
That, yes.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, okay, that formality is done. Webpage review. This first line there is just to recognize that you've got other stuff that you're doing at this point.
Right. I don't remember the exact, I can look it up, but yeah, there's.
You have a date set already?
As far as we've gotten is that Beth Faxon gave some dates and I said, I think the earliest one was in June, but she said that it was already full. There were a couple of meetings scheduled for July and I said, I'll take the earlier one in July, whatever that was. But I never heard anything after that. So I'll try to confirm that they do.
Okay, so I'll keep track of that too, but it's, gonna happen before an meeting, I think.
Yeah.
But this is just recognizing that you have other stuff that you're doing at the same time. This meeting, I was gonna suggest, we aren't gonna have time to do a full webpage review, this part, until next session. And I just thought we try to make an advanced move here to try to figure out what we basically wanted to look at. And what I did, for my part of this is I went around and tried to look at other websites, see what other towns are doing for the energy committee. And Michelle had sent us a copy of the CAP for Lincoln. And within that, there were things that were other things were interesting for example, the QR code, method of getting people from the document to a web page is fantastic. I don't know if we can do that here. I mean, Townsend doesn't do that, so that's the question for Nelson. How much help is available? It's a beautiful website. I saw that. What kinds of things do you see, Michael, that need to be highlighted on our website?
I guess, I've given it a little thought, not a whole lot.
Yeah,
Uh, Probably a blend of, general information. And I know there's some, but it would need to be up there. General information on energy conservation and climate, maybe, and things that can be done to address those, the climate issue. That would be one part of it. Another part would be, what have we accomplished on the energy committee, particularly with the green community? Maybe some kind of summary with graphs of, energy consumption, spending. I don't know if we have those numbers, but I know you've been working on trying to glean it from, the MEI database. So that's about, those two are the major categories that I see. I'm sure there are others I hadn't thought of.
well, I saw it as an opportunity for us to have published pieces that you put that support what we're trying to tell people when we meet them, it's like, so you can say in a meeting and someone's saying, well, this is that, and you say, well, have you looked at our webpage? Have you been there for the information? And let me tell you what's there. You may have to tell them at the meeting, but at least there's a place for them to go to get the information. And, the Lincoln one had several bullets. One had green communities, we're doing the green communities program. One had the community action plan, and there was a third one. I can't remember what it was. But there's just bullets. You push it and you get more information, There's nothing like that on the town webpage. It's not built to expand into, information. So, hopefully we can get that. Good, thank you, Michael. Last meeting, Michelle, you were gonna check with Nelson to see what might actually be available. We didn't really, at that point, have a description of what we wanted to do with it. And now I think we sort of do. The Lincoln is a wealthy community, so maybe the wrong one to go to Nelson with as an example. But, there are other web pages. We're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just trying to there are web pages already developed, actually, and we just stick our own information where their web page was. Townsend takes the place of Lincoln, and boom, you go.
Yeah, we're not, just, links to the annual reports. I mean, I don't know how many people are gonna really wanna read those, but I don't know, it just occurred.
Well, the idea is to be able to refer people to the next step of information. If you wish to know that, you could tell them, well, let Google be your friend and answer your question, or you can say, send to our website, and that, get me. I think I'd rather send them to the website than,
Yeah.
But, I am anticipating some people having bad information and people trading bad information even within our meetings. So we've got to have the meeting and sources of our information basically, pretty well established and published. I know the organization has that, but we need to be able to speak that in our meeting with people. Have you talked have you talked with Nelson at all about that?
Yeah, so I reached out to Nelson and I asked him like how to go about of like adding in just like a section for the like a climate action plan. And so
Yeah.
he directed me to Sabrina, who I believe you've also been kind of working with as well. And they did create a like related links on the Energy Committee's page, but it's kind of just a link to like the PDF explaining the climate action plan, like blurb of like what's happening. So I'm not sure if there's just like that is the only way, if there's like additional support available, like to make it a little more, I don't want to say like a little more like pizzazz, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
just yeah, and I'm not sure. I can kind of follow up with Nelson as well to see like I'm not sure if that would cost extra money or if they would need like additional IT support on that. Because right now like that information is up there and there is a link to the climate action plan, but maybe we could kind of again, once we're getting more documents and information, present that in a better way. Um, so that's kind of like the initial um start, I guess, that information I got.
We're just initiating that, and we haven't gotten very far with it yet then, so.
Yeah, I was, there's anyone that we could talk to at some point, like Sabrina, did Sabrina go to some, an IT person or who did that, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was under the impression because Nelson directed me to her, that she was the one doing the updates, but I'm not sure like if that's kind of the only um update she's able to do, or if there's anything additional. Um,
I, there is a contractor
mhm.
who's responsible for the email, and I'm not getting anywhere with that. We sent another email, I sent another test email this morning, and I did not receive anything, so.
I didn't get anything.
So, our email doesn't even work, so, that's like a starting point, and I have
Yeah.
written to, I read to Sabrina. I tried, actually, the last contact I had, last time we tried to fix this, Harrison Boyette, our town clerk, had reached out to me and said, this has been fixed, but I never tested it.
Mhm.
And I decided to go test it, and it didn't work.
Hmm.
So I reached out to Harrison and say, yeah, it doesn't work. He said, well, he had apparently sent my request to Guardian, who was the contractor,
Mm.
and Guardian. So then I sent extra, we're working on it, but we're not getting anywhere getting just our email going, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's something we'll have to keep working on. Um,
I can
anything else?
dig a little deeper with Nelson, ask maybe like a little more, get a little more specifics on like what their capacity is for actually
Yeah.
changing the website, and what their the range of, I guess, possibilities of what they could do. Um,
Is there any grant funding available for this type of adjustment? I mean, that's another way to look at it. I mean, I guess it's not available because Townsend's not basically funded to do it. That's
mhm.
what it comes down to. So I guess the question is there any grant funding to
Yeah.
help we'll get over this obstacle, communications,
I mean, the town website, who does that? There's, things get posted all the time, updates and.
Yeah, even because I also reached out to I don't know if you know Kieran Meehan. Um, he's
Yeah,
the yeah, like the I think a housing grant coordinator. Um,
yeah.
but just for, you know, capacity building and just getting more ideas related to like outreach. But he pointed me to the municipal vulnerability preparedness section of the town website. And I
Yeah.
feel like that, let me actually, I just have to pull it up here. Um, I feel like something even like that might be better suited for us, even if it's still part of like the Energy Committee's page. Let me just find it here. But just having like, and it is set up like the Energy Committee's page as well. I can share my screen if I'm not sure if that would help, if I'm able to share. Oh, I've got to send a request. Okay, that should work. Hopefully now. Oop, okay.
Yeah.
Just like something maybe similar. They've got all of the related links and like more. Oh, well, I guess that one does not work. Just some way of like storing information. Um,
Right.
which it seems like, the town should be able to do. I mean, it's got a link to the other town website, additional information. Um,
Yeah, the capacity, I don't know who did this, whether it was done in-house or out or whatever.
yeah. I mean, it's still like it's simple, but it still gets a lot of information across
Yeah,
and
that's all you
yeah.
need for the
Yeah.
kind of to do.
And just kind of like a little bit of some like animations or like pictures. But
Yeah.
then this also, stood out to me. They've got this workshop advertised, QR codes. Um, yeah.
But the energy committee website has to look more like that
Mhm.
and have that flexibility to get other documents out. Um, all right, we'll move on. I we'll have to keep working on that, and obviously the email has to work. Police department, I basically wrote down everything that I did and happened there. Um, Frank, the last thing is I emailed PDFs of the user instructions for the LEDs because they never had them. They never had any instructions. They figured it out themselves, they said, how to work them.
Hmm. So maybe there's a way of
Well,
controlling.
they may have experience with other, switches similar, but they didn't have the instructions to tell them how to turn it down to a minute instead of 10 minutes. So
Right.
I don't know if that instruction applies to the particular switches installed in the problem areas, like the storage room, because there's different types of switches. There's a dimming switches and the non-dimming switches, and
Yeah.
like that.
Sort of hard to believe that light bulb, I mean, I don't know, how many light bulbs we're talking about, and presumably each one is not using a lot of energy. Even if they're left on for hours more than they should be every month, it's hard to believe it would be noted that would have a noticeable effect on their energy bill. But you'd have to look at the numbers, I think Frank's
They had
response made sense to me.
they had a swell, and having the contractor there for the solar, that makes sense to me. That's one of the Frank made like 6 different suggestions of what could cause that, including someone left the lights on,
Right.
But it can't be explained just by light bulbs. And I've never heard of LEDs actually increasing, like, it may be that the switches, improper programming could increase you use 10 times as much light as you used electricity as time on as you used to. You may have an incremental increase because the light bulbs are saving you like 1/10 of the power the old one do. So I don't know, you should be able to save money.
Right.
And Frank said that he's never heard of, his 20 years of installing bulbs, he never heard of LEDs increasing the electric usage. So I sent her a note and said, I hope this helps. And I have not heard from her that she even received my note. And so I'll have to make sure that she's got it, and that we're done with it. But that's that. We had this community stakeholder meeting a couple of days ago. We were all there. And I wanted to make some notes, feedback from that. But it did, during the meeting, but I found it very useful. And there are people at my table who had, different set of experiences and knowledge and stuff. And one of the things that I found that I can't get back to, if I can't get it going, is a gentleman at a table, I think from Groton, said there's a Mass Save has a chart of the savings that the utility has provided through the Mass Save program. And
Oh
I
yeah.
don't, I can't, I'd like to see it. What does it
Yeah,
look like?
let me send you the link right now. Because I was also, as part of the greenhouse gas inventory, there is a um portion where you kind of can input energy usage. But I did find that website with like the savings as well and incentives through Mass Save for each town. I just have to pull up the link
Well,
here.
that's what it was, yeah.
People that have used Mass Save and implemented,
Right.
whatever.
So otherwise, we wouldn't know
Hmm.
what percentage of the town hasn't been done yet, or I don't know what information is there. Was a comparative actually showed Pepperell and Townsend and like a half a dozen other town on the sheet that I saw.
Yeah, it's a pretty good tool. Here it is.
So I learned about that and wanted to get hold of that. I think that may be useful information for our website if or someplace. Um, I learned
Yeah.
about the health, Heat Smart Alliance. Um, and Kevin Fogarty, who was at our table, had they train people in helping residents understand heat pumps. In other words, you go and you get 4 weeks of training, actually 4 days and in 4 weeks of training in heat pumps. And study and learn how to explain how they work and what's appropriate, so that residents who have talked to you will know what questions they should be asking the heat pump guy. And also you've got just learning suitability, because I saw many inappropriate applications of heat pumps as a home energy advisor. And that's what's always been, they won't work with my house, the 1974 house, thin walls. Each room would need one to work. Otherwise you can't eat. So, and I saw people selling them inappropriately. So I think having, myself, I'd love to learn more about them, so that in conversations, people, with people about them, I can, properly, say, well, I've had some training in this, and, maybe someday someone want to hire me to sell the things. But I won't sell them inappropriately. I've just seen it happen so many times, and I don't know if I could even do it. If they ask me to sell them inappropriately, it's like, no, thank you. I don't
Yeah,
want to do it.
I've heard horror stories of people like they're improperly placed or the capacity is wrong and it's yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's a
They take
problem.
out 130,000 BTU boiler and put a couple of 18,000 BTU. They're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Sorry to interrupt. I sent the link through email. I think for some reason like the chat in this Zoom is disabled, so um
if I
should
don't get
be
it, if I don't get it, I'll let you know.
okay.
At our table, they talked about landfill, you covering this landfill with solar. In Pepperell, they're gonna
Mhm.
rent the space and not gonna keep the electricity.
Yeah, and in Townsend, the last I heard about that, when we probably talked about it in this committee, was that it was deemed not practical because transmission lines that could carry the power are too far away, that the transmission lines near the landfill are not suitable. I mean, I don't
May
know.
not be big enough, all right, it may not be big enough to make it, to justify putting in the line,
Right.
over here, but okay, they suggested that if we do something with solar or wind or something, that we may be able to use the Groton Electric Department engineers, instead of hiring our own.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I reminded me to check the solar input, that we have a new solar panels at the police station. I don't know if they're producing yet, but I want to make sure that those are accounted for in MEI.
Mm, hmm.
Um, the collaboration on education efforts was a suggestion made, because we don't have capacity for a lot of education, but if I found out that they were doing a presentation in Pepperell, and it was the same presentation we would do here, well, why not, see
Yeah.
if we can work together on that. Yeah. The suggestion that we have a program video, question is climate change caused by humans? And, you go through all the permutations of that discussion. Um, benefit and actions list, doesn't. Yeah, that, I thought it was good, and I'd do another one.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you both for coming. It was a pretty good turnout. I was happy to see a lot of people come out despite the extreme heat. Um, I think the discussions were really good as well. And yeah, the education component is definitely something I'm kind of seeing with other towns, and it's something that comes up. Um, and I mean, it also again could be a goal of the climate action plan as well. Um, there's like the net zero by 50 state goal, but you can also kind of tailor the goals as well to Townsend. And I know you've discussed kind of building capacity and support, so we could also include that as a goal in the education as well. Um,
all right, so really, the climate action plan, next steps was the next topic on our agenda, Michelle.
mhm.
So we had, I think last time we talked, we were gonna look at the greenhouse, based gas your inventories, continue that discussion and, some outreach discussion. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
no,
Let's start with the greenhouse gas inventory. So I know we discussed the actual baseline in the energy reduction plan, like Green Communities (MEI). So I believe that baseline is 2010. So that's just for municipal buildings. We can definitely include that in the plan. Um, and as I kind of mentioned earlier, uh, we just have to make sure that like it's explained why we're including 2010 for just the municipal buildings. Um,
why wouldn't you do that for the school buildings?
I'm sorry.
The school buildings are included?
I see what she means.
Yeah, whatever is in like the baseline. Sorry.
Yeah, well, we have a separate, you know, by now, we have a separate,
Yeah, it's
bill,
the Northern Middlesex.
right?
Technically that's like the MEI. It's part of that
Okay.
database.
They
Um,
don't make, you put the numbers together.
mhm. So we can definitely include that in the plan. But and then there's also like there was the question of 2017 or 2022. Um,
Mhm.
I wanted to get a little more input and kind of look into that a little bit more. And I did reach out to someone from the uh, Metropolitan Area Planning Council, so the MAPC. They encompass Boston and like that region, and then all the way up to like Littleton, and so they're pretty um, they're pretty big, and they provide a lot of material on like climate action planning and recommendations. So I reached out to someone there, and they did say, you could use 2017, um, but the 2022 baseline is a little bit more in line with um, the state's goals, and they're coming out with a new climate action plan for the whole state that uses 2022. Um, so I know I mentioned the 2017 before. That sort of was like the baseline work for a lot of previous plans among towns in the area. But I'm thinking 2022 might be more of the way to go if we want to be in line more kind of with the state.
Well, I've been thinking about that too. It's like a separation from the Green Communities MEI database, really. It's like a new initiating a new program, it's
Yeah.
dark 22. And then to say, oh, by the way, we've also done all this work before, and this is carrying that on. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
what for.
And so oh, I'm
I
sorry.
don't object to a 2022 because we'll just have some sort of a dialogue paragraph that tells about everything that happened before, and this
Right.
is bring it up. I got that.
Yeah, exactly. And the 2010 baseline, so that's just for like excuse me, municipal buildings and then the schools as well. I believe it's Spalding and then Hawthorne is part of Townsend.
Yes.
So that's just for municipal buildings, and we can definitely have like the narrative for that, what's been done before. But then 2022, it's encompassing residential,
Yeah,
like town-wide emissions. So transportation, commercial and industrial buildings, and residential. And then of course there's wastewater and trash disposal. That's typically
yeah,
a very small part of the inventory, but it's still part of it. Um, but I mean, we kind of know what the main um, emission cause of emissions are, even without doing the inventory. I mean, within Massachusetts, it's going to be buildings and then transportation. Um, but yeah, so I have the 2022 inventory completed based on like the MAPC's guidelines. So I can definitely send an email and share that if you'd like to review it as well.
sure. First of all, I think, we're making a choice here, 2017, 2022. I'm gonna ask Michael, we all want a conversation in the committee. Does 2022 work for you?
Yes,
2017? All right, 2022.
2022.
All right, so I'm gonna move that we accept 2022 as our baseline date for the community action plan. Any second?
A second?
All those in favor, Michael?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so we voted to accept 2022 as our baseline. I don't know if that was necessary, there's only two of us on the. It's official, okay?
Awesome.
And we'll take the 2022.
Great. Yeah, I'll send that over if you'd like to review it. And sounds good. One thing I did want to get more input from you is like what are aside from, the typical state goals of like net zero by 2050, are there any additional goals? And you don't have to like have the answer immediately now, but I just want to make sure we're thinking of that. Um, Kind of what outcomes do you want from this like climate action plan? I know we've talked about support and greater capacity of like the energy committee as well.
Yeah. Um, I think that we want to make sure that that the town is energy secure.
Mhm. Yeah,
And as far as the, climate thing is concerned, that there's a degree of safety, we know what we can do if it rains pretty hard north of here, the flood comes down the river, we've got to know what we're gonna do. That's all. I can see, uh, helping the community become comfortable that, we have a plan. I mean, not
yeah,
having a plan is more dangerous than having one. So I think does the community feel like, things are being taken care of, we know what we're doing,
yeah.
would be a good.
I think, yeah, and I mean, if you look at some really strong climate action plans, I mean, each town is unique. They're all going to be um, different. They all have the similar kind of here's what we can do, but I think it's really good that we also incorporate kind of the resiliency, like you're talking about, being able to be prepared and you know, identifying vulnerabilities and sort of those concepts as well.
You mentioned a minute ago that, the master plan has in it a section for, disaster planning. I mean, is that,
Yeah, I believe there is a,
you showed it.
yeah, I can go back and look to double check. I believe typically there is a section devoted to that. Um,
So you showed us a minute ago, the Townsend website where they have,
oh, yeah, sorry. So I believe Townsend, let me just double check.
what committee is that?
Is that
So
the vulnerability?
Oh, yes,
yeah,
vulnerability. There's a
and I,
committee that,
oh,
and
sorry.
I think I think a fair question would be is why, that we should be prepared to answer is why is the climate action plan being worked on in the energy committee and not not that other one?
I mean, it's a little bit of a different orientation. The climate action plan primarily is how do we contribute to addressing climate change primarily by reducing energy consumption, right?
Right, energy.
The other thing is, well, climate change is happening and there has to be preparation for the changes.
Preparation rather than avoid what reducing effect.
Right. I mean, they both have to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Happening because we're burning too much of the wrong type of energy.
Right.
Okay.
and
All right,
yeah, to kind of
I-
piggyback off, oh, sorry.
That's good, Michael. That's good.
Um,
And
I can send you, Dunstable actually has a municipal vulnerability preparedness plan. It's kind of a mouthful. MVP plan. Um, and it definitely it's a little more focused on taking inventory of like natural resources, infrastructure, um, those sort of like things that are vulnerable to extreme weather or anything like that. So I can send you that just so you can see an example of what that looks like. Because looking at the website, it looks like you received a grant to do this municipal vulnerabilities plan. Um, and it's kind of in progress.
okay. All right. Did you have anything more on outreach today?
Aside from uh reaching out to Kieran, he answered me today. Um, I I also reached out to the library to just have them like have a flyer for that kind of just outline what a climate action plan is, that the town is going to be producing one. So that is at the library and then on their like newsletter, just informing people.
Okay.
So there's that. And then also reached out to the Conservation Commission. They had to move their meeting to July 9th, I believe. But I can present what we're doing and see if they also can kind of help us with outreach, or we could sort of um, work with them as well. Because again, there's some overlap in the work.
Okay.
Oh, and then Kieran also mentioned that the band, I think, what was it, bandstand is also a good opportunity as well, just to be present, I think, and um,
The band concerts are a great place to see young people who have children and older people who just sort of gonna have a reason to get out of the house. But
yeah.
yeah, it's a good place to intercept the younger generation, I think.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, have to do it. Is that all for now?
Yeah,
Michelle?
I think that's it. I was just also thinking, this might be a little bit further, a few months away, but reaching out to schools as well. Maybe there's, a sustainability committee or not committee, but like organization some students might be participating in. Um,
I do not know
mhm.
who at the schools is who at the schools have an energy committee, or how are they handling the school stuff other than
Yeah,
the
I sometimes it falls under either like a facilities manager, or some schools will actually have like a like energy manager as well. Um
well, the facilities manager at here is the only person I know of that the town interacts with over there as far as the light bulbs and our green community stuff.
Well, North Middlesex School District has a facilities manager.
Yes,
I can't
he's
remember his name.
David. He's the one that our town manager typically will deal with him to try to get our paperwork completed for
Right.
grant stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You said his name is David.
I'll give it to you if you want, I'll
Okay,
find it.
awesome. Thank you.
Regional School District, okay. All right, well, I don't think we have any topics. I have not had any more. Last time I had like 4 topics after, but we don't have anything today. Open meeting forum, nobody's here. Now, next meeting, I don't want to meet in July. I'll try to contact you if it's okay with you to early in August. And I try to get a mid-August, start in the fall. Wednesday or Thursday, okay, in the fall still, you think,
Yeah,
going forward?
should be okay. There's 1 week I'll be away in August, but that's leaves several other weeks.
Okay, 7 p.m. still okay, or would you prefer afternoon, like 4 o'clock? Because these meeting rooms are open all the time for that stuff.
Right, probably 7 is better. I can do, usually if we want to do it in the afternoon, I can do it, but 7 will be more likely.
Can do afternoon if needed, if needed. All right. That just about covers it. Do you have any more business, Michelle, Michael?
Nope.
I think I'm all set.
I will move to adjourn.
Right.
Second?
Yes.
All those in favor, Ron, yes, Michael?
Yes.
I will say, as part of the scope of work for the climate action plan, I am going to be planning some sort of public engagement either in like late July or August. I know you mentioned you don't want to work in July. Is it okay if I like send updates? Oh,
If
sorry.
there's a day, I could do, a day, I mean, if
Okay.
I'd do it, but.
Yeah.
It's really, every month we try to prepare for these meetings and schedule them and, make them happen and get them posted and all that stuff. It's just, I just want to take a month off, that's all from that, of planning,
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
Um, so, we'll be in touch. And, soon as I tell him to the meeting is adjourned, stop recording, we'll probably lose you, Michelle, so.
Okay.
Thank you for coming and helping us with this. You may stop recording.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you.